HVAC is somewhat recession resistant because, like, yes, the luxury items are the air conditioners in the northern states, and the luxury items are like, the higher end equipment. But even if, and I was actually in the HVAC business in 2008 and things crashed, but people basically switched over to hardcore service. We were doing way more repairs, way more service. It's not ideal, and your revenue is going to take a hit, but your profit margin is going to be a little higher. So thankfully with HVAC, you're somewhat recession resistant, unlike what you mentioned, like, with counters and stuff.
Granted, countertops, there was nobody lining up to pay $6,000, $8,000, $10,000 for countertops when everybody's worried about, their paycheck, or are they going to have a job next week, or, what the future holds.
Yep.
So that was a big decision factor also in deciding to get into HVAC. Was I knew when that happened with the granite company, I wanted to do a, essential item and not a luxury item.
Welcome to the Results Grow podcast for home service professionals, where we chat with business owners and experts to discover what's delivered results to grow and succeed in their business. And now, your hosts, Steve Gadsby and Cary Blackburn.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to this episode of the Results Grow podcast, the podcast for home service professionals on how to grow your business, how to run your business, etc. So I'm Cary Blackburn, and I'm here with my business partner, Steve Gadsby. How are you doing, Steve?
Really, really good. I really enjoyed that meeting with. I mean, we've known Dean for like a few years, working with his business or whatever else. But I think we covered a ton of interesting and good ground there. Like, it was just really interesting if his sort of, we kind of broke it down in parts of it. Like, what is your core philosophies about business? And big ones for him were like, integrity, always saying what you say you're going to do. I just find it really interesting how contractors that are bigger, more successful, they a lot of times come to the same conclusions. They may be maybe in different countries, different parts of states or wherever, but it's like the ones that make it and are successful have some very similar core values and how they think about their business. Or even when he talked about leads, it's like, we asked him his opinion, like, and we'll get it, it'll flesh it out deeper in the podcast. But it's like when he started discussing, it's probably Hunter calling him, but he's just called me too. But we're actively running our marketing company in the background here as we're doing our podcast.
Exactly.
We try to record these things on Fridays, but there's also other stuff going on. So,
and what Steve is referring to as our guest today, Dean Bacheller of Affordable Comfort Heating and Cooling in Allen Park, Michigan. Some really interesting stuff that Dean was saying, and how he grew his business, and basically how it was him to begin with. And I got the feeling a lot of it through it, Steve, was that it was, what I like to say, fake it till you make it type thing. And I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing, is that jump in, go hardcore at it. And he realized it was up to him to make this business grow.
Yep. He's also at a spot that's not easy for a lot of contractors to get to, which is he owns the real estate he's in. He has office employees, installation team, service team. Like he's got all the different departments. So it's the sky's the limit. It's like, he can go anywhere from here. So it's a really good pod. I really enjoyed it. I think anybody that's in and around home service industry is going to get a lot out of this, and we hope you enjoy it too. So
let's jump right in. And here's Dean Bacheller of Affordable Comfort Heating and Cooling in Allen Park, Michigan. Hey everyone, I'm here with Steve Gadsby, my partner here at Results Grow. And today on the podcast, we have Dean Bacheller from Affordable Comfort Heating and Cooling in Allen Park, Michigan. Dean, how you doing?
Doing good. How you guys doing?
Good.
Doing great, thanks. So tell us a little bit about your business, how long you've been in business, how you got into it, basically, from the day that you've never been in the business to the day you started. Today, I should say.
2015. Before that, I was flipping houses, and that really started to slow up. So I knew I needed to do something else. Actually, the guy that was doing my heating and cooling asked me if I want to be partners. So I was like, sure, I'll check it out. That was a bad decision going to business with him. He had an addiction problem that I had to bail him out of jail a couple of times. So needless to say, we split up after 6 months, and then I kind of ran with it on my own.
Okay, interesting. So like before that, you were like flipping houses. So you were what were you doing before? You were like basically
I was buying foreclosures, fixing them up, selling them.
Oh, interesting.
Before that, I owned a granite countertop company,
Oh, okay.
but the 2008 bit really hit me bad.
Yep. Well,
So-
yeah, heats and everything else for sure.
Yeah.
So you had never done any kind of heating and air conditioning before that at all?
Nope.
Wow. Did you, what sort of training did you have to do to learn it? I mean, were you able to do installations and stuff afterwards, or just kind of managing and running the business?
I had to learn fast.
I bet.
There was a lot of people that were willing to help too. Went to every class I could, talked to everybody that was willing to help, and did get a lot of help off the start.
Are you on the tools yourself currently, or
No.
were you on the tools at the beginning?
Oh yeah. First install was me and a helper in a crawl space home with no access to the crawl. So we had to cut a hole in the closet,
Oh,
get
God.
in,
Was it dirt?
and then had to start digging to fit
Oh,
the furnace
God.
down.
Was it a dirt crawl space?
Yep. It didn't fit down, so we had to start digging.
That, like, literally what you just described is the worst case scenario
Yeah.
of an installation. Like I've been in that circumstance that you're talking about, right? So it's
Yeah.
like you're in a dirt crawl space. There's most likely rats that are currently hiding from you because
Yeah.
you're worried about getting attacked by something. Like I've actually done it where I was like down at a crawl space. I forgot my cell phone in the car or something, and I thought to myself, if this person's like a murderer, like that's it, I'm done for. Like they're just gonna.
We had to pull the carpet back in the closet, cut a hole,
Yeah.
and take some shovels down. There was a big old unit down there that we couldn't get out. It's probably still there today, but that was install number one.
I've had to do that too. Yeah, you just leave it in place. Just oh, Lord. And then what? So after you finish the install, were you thinking, I don't know, man. I don't know if this.
Well, yeah, it wasn't, starting off is never easy, and you can't say no to any work. And that was one of them jobs that nobody else wanted, and
you have the
brand new.
You have the exact correct attitude, and this is why you've grown, I'm sure, faster than most other people. Like we have other people, we give them like, we send them a bunch of leads or whatever else. They're like, no, this one was over 35 minutes away. This one, no, I think that type of person never buys something, and is an excuse. And it's like, no, that job is the wrong kind of job. It's like, man, nothing will kill your business faster than saying no to things. But if you got this attitude that it says, whatever comes my way, I'm going to take it.
Yeah.
Like the universe just wants to give you
Well,
more.
like I said, with doing granite countertops, it was a luxury item. And then when economy tightened up, I was without. So
Yep.
big learning lesson that when I experienced without any work, it makes it very hard to say no to anything, because you never know when, there's no guarantee that anything's going to sell next week.
Yep.
It could have been worse. You could have found some bodies down there. I mean,
Good. We found animal bodies
Oh,
in
God.
the crawl spaces. No humans yet.
yeah, but go ahead, Steve. I just lost my train of thought there.
Sorry. No, like one good thing, like HVAC is somewhat recession resistant, because like, yes, the luxury items are the air conditioners in the northern states, and the luxury items are like, the higher end equipment. But even if, and I was actually in the HVAC business in 2008 and things crashed, but people basically switched over to hardcore service. We were doing way more repairs, way more service. It's not ideal, and your revenue is going to take a hit, but your profit margin is going to be a little higher. So thankfully with HVAC, you are somewhat recession resistant, unlike what you mentioned, like, with counters and stuff.
Granite countertops, there was nobody lining up to pay $6,000, $8,000, $10,000 for countertops when everybody's worried about, their paycheck, or they're going to have a job next week, or, what the future holds.
Yep.
So that was a big decision factor also in deciding to get into HVAC. Was I knew when that happened with the granite company, I wanted to do a essential item and not a luxury item.
Interesting. So that was a factor in it too.
Yeah.
It's really interesting. What can you walk us through the revenue story, like kind of like, your first month, it's like, how small it started and kind of like where you're at currently?
Well, first I'd say 6 months was really tight. It's, anybody looking to get in, you pretty much got to decide, I'm all in or I'm not going to do anything, because you're betting on yourself. And you definitely got to watch your dollars that you're spending, because you don't have a bank account with a, whole bunch of money to back you up. You don't have credit at suppliers. It takes a little while to get that. So I was working on what credit cards I had to get equipment and advertise. And speaking of advertising, a lot of our right out of the gate was, days we didn't have installs or something else to do. We were out putting out door hangers. So working hard and trying to produce leads for as little as possible was definitely a huge decision-making factor starting off.
And like,
you don't have a whole bunch of money to start with.
Like you started like at zero in terms of revenue. Like where is it at? Like, what is your maybe like your 2022 run rate like revenue wise? Like where do you think you're?
So 2022 right now, year to date, we're at about 1.2. Okay. And we're actually down this year. A lot of factors, there is a bit of a tightening up in the economy.
Yep.
But at the beginning of this year, so end of 21, beginning of this year, I had to let go my top tech.
Ouch.
And his cousin and best friend also worked for me. So they had come talk to me before and said that they were going to stay, but they didn't. So I lost 2 installers and my top producing service sales tech.
Wow.
And then Aiden, which you guys know,
yep,
he took another job right after the first year, also not in the HVAC industry, working for a family member, doing something different, but it was a big opportunity for him. So in 2 weeks' time, I lost 2 installers, top tech, and my one and only sales guy.
Ouch.
So we were starting over. I had 1 installer and 1 helper. So beginning of this year, spring was rough. We had a really down first quarter, but that was to be expected with all new.
Yep.
So started training a new sales guy. And he's turned out, he's doing great now, but it was rough in the beginning.
Yeah. It's a lot of wheels spinning. And do you do, with your sales guys, do you do like role playing? Do you ever?
Oh yeah, all the time.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
Kind of sit down and go over, the calls he's on, walk me through it, what happened, what they say, what's their concerns, what are they looking for, and see what kind of, deal we can put together for them. Because, yeah, you get slam dunks, but majority of people, they're getting extra bids. They want to think about it. So slam dunks when it's not 95 degrees and they're looking for an AC.
Yeah.
Get a little more difficult.
Yeah. You got to work it a bit harder.
Yeah.
Or temperatures in the teens and you're looking for heat, right?
Yeah.
Did you do anything kind of different or special to try to find new employees?
This year, it was the most difficult time because I've always had to kind of reload some more people before summer because we've had growth year after year until this year. So spring is when I'd put more people on, and it was always easy. This year, post-COVID, was the most difficult to get people qualified that wanted to come in and work. So we did end up finding 2 very good, very young, which I like too, because then we can train them, the way we want an install to go. Young, ambitious. So I'll tell you, the interviewing process this year was first time ever I've had people sitting there that I'm interviewing, they're telling me what, they won't do.
What they want for wages, you're saying?
What they want for wage, but what they won't do.
What they won't do.
Yeah, so it was a different year, and there was a big change or kind of mindset with all the COVID, and I don't know.
What did they say that they wouldn't do?
I don't work Saturdays. I don't work in Detroit. I don't go on roofs. I'm like, well, we got to put in chimney liners. What? So there was a lot of different things where I was kind of taken back this year, but ended up rehiring back somebody that used to work for me.
Yep.
That he had left the year prior, got hawked by a competitor. But I called him up and said, hey, it's normally not my thing to hawk somebody that's got a job, but you were taken from me. And
yeah, it's fair.
He was a good hard worker. He had no background HVAC when he started with me. And he worked for me for 8 months and really was coming along, but then left.
And you got it back now.
Yeah, I got him back. And then he's met other people. I've gone to my staff saying, hey, do you know anybody yet? So there's a lot of guys that it's kind of like not a fraternity, but a brotherhood really of installers. They talk, they know each other, they're doing the same thing.
I find that going to staff is a bit of a hit and miss thing. So like I found the most amazing people ever from going to current staff, because if you got amazing people and you ask them who they know, they also know amazing people. And then I've also had it go the other way where it's like you get them to bring in somebody that, so I've had completely the opposite ways. And sometimes it goes amazing and sometimes it goes terrible, but
that happens. But also another thing, I've been trying to create a culture here that not everybody's going to work out here. The way we are and what I expect from people that I've learned really, I've worked for other people in my life and I've worked at jobs I hated going in every day. And I was just yelled at and, treated like a piece of crap. And it's tough enough when the alarm goes off every day to get up and go to work. You don't need to get beat up all day long.
Right.
So treating everybody with respect mutually, and don't let anybody else get away with, not fitting in and disrespecting people around here, so that other people do want to come. They come work here and be like, hey, it's a whole lot better here. I'm not getting screamed at all the time. And because there's other places where boss is all upset because it's shoulder season, watch the bank account dip in, and he starts yelling at everybody.
Yeah.
Oh, it's not their fault. Put them on a job.
I've always found that anybody that I've worked with, treating them like adults is like they tend to respond better to that than having somebody who's down their throat all the time or micromanaging them. What are you doing today? What is this that you're doing? Right. And as Steve always likes to say, is you put somebody in the position and you let them go with it. It's like, here you go, run with it. This is your job. Go. Right. And have the confidence that they're going to do it. Right. I mean, I know what it's like to get yelled at in a job. And I worked for my dad who built houses. That was my summer thing. I would go work for him and love him to death. But probably the most difficult person I've ever worked for because he had a really high standard. I mean, I can remember getting yelled at all day and I probably deserved it. It's like putting studs on a plate, putting up a wall, and it's not perfectly flush. And he comes over, are you happy with that? And I think to myself, no, right? Take it apart, do it again, right? And getting yelled at. And then you get in the truck to drive home and it's like a completely different conversation, like a regular conversation talking about sports. And I'm looking at him like, okay, you just crapped on me all day. And I said that to him, he crapped on, and now we're doing this. He's like, that's work. This is different, right? But still, I learned a lot from it, but I don't want to be doing that again, having somebody on my, my butt all day screaming at me. But that's just, that to me, that's just not the best way to have people that you work for. There's better ways to bring things up when you see issues or other things. This
is probably a good time to apologize to you, Cary, for yelling at you all week.
Yes, well, actually, already done it 3 times this morning. So, right. But do you find that as well, Dean? Is like, are there ways that you found that you can talk to employees and staff about, if you see something that's not right, how to get them to improve instead of just going up to them and screaming at them?
My first job out of college, I won't say who they were, but they were big on and belief in the effectiveness of public humiliation. So if you messed up, they wouldn't say anything to you personally. They'd have you in a big meeting with everybody and then call you out in front of everybody to embarrass you. It's effective, but it's embarrassing. And, so installers, I'll sit down with them, alone, or even just send them a text because our system they got to upload pictures of the install. So I'll look at the pictures every day and then kind of, make some little circles on, hey, this could have been more plumb and this, and, kind of pointing out some things we can do better to work on. And I always explain to them, I'm not beating you up. I just don't ever believe there's anything that's perfect. We can always strive to get better.
Right.
I always find it's best to be, and it helps, and I've gotten in trouble not doing this, be brutally upfront, honest with people about, hey, this is the 4 ways that you've let the team down and you're letting me down and whatever else. And if you need to fire that person, it makes it way smoother because they know they're not doing it right. It also, and sometimes 1 in 5 will actually turn it around and not keep screwing things up. But I'd say most of the time, when they start to really make a lot of mistakes, there's no coming back from that. It's like, they're going to keep doing it. Is this who they are? Is it?
Yeah.
Well, interesting what you said though, Dean, is that I learned years ago, one of the things that Vince Lombardi, obviously legendary football coach, said is that we're quest for perfection, but we might catch excellence along the way.
Right. Yeah.
Right. Because nobody can be perfect, but you can get that excellence. But it's interesting that you have them take photos of the install, because I had a client years ago, not years ago, I mean, we're talking 7-8 years ago, who did AC installs in Las Vegas, and he would wear Google glasses every time he did an install.
Yeah.
So that the client could watch what he's doing, but also could record it. And he would even post it to YouTube to say, hey, everybody who's in the industry, feel free to criticize what I did. Right. And it's interesting that he did that. I mean, obviously Google glasses aren't a thing anymore, but just it's something that, you think of it. I don't want to be like, if I was as an employer, I wouldn't want my employees to have Google glasses on so I could watch exactly what they're doing all day, because I'm sure that employee would be so afraid of making a mistake.
Yeah,
but
sure.
It's interesting that, there's ways to do that and ways to try to be very good at what you do.
Yeah. So every job gets before and after. So the sales rep goes out and takes pictures of every angle of furnace, and then backs up and kind of gets a whole shot of everything, in the basement or wherever the furnace may be, electrical panel, and then outside at the AC. And a couple things it's helped with is, then installers can look at and see what they're walking into. It helps us with having all the materials they need, because that will hurt you if they're at the job and, they need a transition or they need some other piece that they don't have. That really slows you down. But then also we've had, customers say, hey, I got this pipe leaking and it wasn't leaking before you guys showed up, or, whatever. And we can go back to a picture and go, you mean that pipe right there that obviously was leaking?
That had a big puddle. Interesting. Yeah, we've gotten burned by that like a number of times, kind of scammy people. As you caused this water leak, blah, blah, blah. And sometimes there's nothing you can do about it. And
sure.
You do get burned, but that's an interesting take. I like your picture idea. I think that's a good takeaway for like any and every HVAC. It's so simple because everybody's got an iPhone too.
Yeah.
Just to kind of shift gears a little bit, what is like your ultimate goal for the business, and has that changed since 2015?
Yeah, absolutely. 2015, when I started, I really felt like I wanted to build it up and sell it. And now that I've surpassed the original goal of what I thought I'd sell it at, I don't want to sell it.
Yeah. And that's actually perfect, because it's like, the perfect time to sell a business is when it's everything's going how you want it to go, and you don't want to sell it because then you have some leverage. It's like you don't really want to let it go because it's bringing in cash and it's giving you the lifestyle that you want, and you have freedom and you'll do what you want. It's like, well, I could sell it, but give me what I want for it, and maybe I'll think about it, type of thing. So
yeah, it's a startup is a grind. There's a lot of work that has to get done and never really stops. But my workload has definitely decreased over the years.
What do you do on a given day? Like, what is your day? One of the days this week? Like, what are you actually personally kind of working?
It's slower this week, so let's not go with this week. Let's go with summer.
End of the summer.
So come in every morning, and so we'll typically make sure the day before we've got all the equipment. We've got pallets with rollers on them, so each job will get a pallet of its equipment and tag that, okay, this is going to that install tomorrow and this one's going to that, and make sure everybody gets loaded up with everything they need. Kind of have a little half hour in the morning, just talk, or what happened yesterday, or is there anything yesterday we need to address, and pretty much get the guys out the door. Then after they're out the door, check in with the gal in the office, see if there's any messages for me. And then then I'll go to my office. Depends on what I've got to do, but any kind of if we're gonna adjust some advertising, look at what works, meet with my sales guy, see the bids he's on, see what's working, what's not. But really, and I'm not embarrassed to say, my days have really turned into about 3-4 hours of I have to work.
Right.
And I can go swing by an install and check in on them, take them lunch, or whatever it may be. And it wasn't that way off the start, because I was running sales calls and doing installs and selling and everything. So
Right.
I really, really enjoy my work-life balance now.
Right. And do you, what's it, you have a family and such?
Yep. Wife and 2 kids.
Nice.
Yep.
Very nice. And you're able to spend you kind of I mean, could you back out more if you wanted to?
I think so, but I also think it's important, if they're required to be here at a certain time in the morning, I can be here too. So
Yep.
get up and get into work every day and deal with anything crucial. And then after that, if I want to work on something for the future, a goal for the future, I can. And you say, family, could I spend more time with them? But then do they want to spend more time with me? They're like, I wish Dad was back on that startup grind.
Did you find that when you started the business in 2015, that, since this is you starting it, that you had to have that mindset, like, if it's not you doing it, it's not getting done, and this business isn't going anywhere.
Yeah.
Right.
Correct.
Like it's you had to rely on yourself. Like, you really, really needed to say, you know what, there's nobody that's going to come along and save me here if this doesn't work.
Yep.
Right. And I know that you must have had some sleepless nights thinking about it.
Oh, a lot of them. Yeah.
Yeah.
When, when money gets tight and, you start having some doubt if it's going to work or not. Yeah. It's a roller coaster, especially the startup times where, you go a couple of weeks without selling anything and think, oh my gosh, what if nothing comes along?
Yep.
And then, the next week you sell a whole bunch and then you're back on a high. But yeah, a lot of sleepless nights.
How did you get up some mornings going, I got to do this, and to keep moving ahead, keep believing that this is going to work?
So actually my father-in-law was, a big influence. Both my father-in-law and my father, entrepreneurs. So my father-in-law had said to me once, when you make a decision, move forward, don't ever look back. So it wasn't, that was great advice. And don't second guess and don't look back and say, man, I shouldn't have, or just get up and go. Early on, I would set small goals, one at a time, and then try and figure out what's it going to take to get that done. And the plan you put together doesn't always work. So sometimes you got to scrap them, but pick off one little goal at a time. And then before you know it, they're big goals that you're picking off.
Right.
And it makes it a little bit easier, to mentally handle when you're thinking about, okay, this one goal that I got to get to, rather than the whole picture of everything that you're worried about. That's weighing on your mind all the time.
It reminds me of what you just said there about just keep moving forward. Once you got it, just keep moving forward. I recently listened to the audiobook from Will Smith. So this is before he slapped Chris Rock in the face or whatever he's up to. But he's actually a really interesting guy. So, but it's so one of his big things about goals, he sets a goal and then he tells himself, I would rather die than to not reach this goal. Like, it's either death or he's getting to the goal.
That's extreme.
That's very, very extreme. And he's an absolute zealot, but I just found it an interesting little thing that he did. And then I heard somebody else say too, Lance Armstrong, I think, said something very similar. It's like, So it's either death or get to the goal, which is obviously two pretty extreme characters. But it sounds like you're kind of espousing the same type of
I'll
philosophy.
keep my life, but you gotta set goals, because you can't, you're just working blind, I think, if you don't. You set a goal of how much you want to do in a year, how much do you want to do in a quarter, how much do you want to do in a month, how much do you want to do in a week.
Yep.
And then kind of break it down, like, okay, what's it going to take? What do I have to do to get us there?
Where the structure that you're at currently, and I know that like you own the real estate that you're in.
Yep.
You have an installation team, you have somebody in the office, you have a structure, you have systems. It's like that's actually really hard to get to, and 97% of HVAC companies don't get to where you got to. And now it's like if you get enough demand and enough leads and you sell enough jobs, it's simply just doing exactly what you're doing and just scaling it up. But
Yeah.
getting to where you got to is actually it seems inconceivable to a lot of small HVAC contractors just starting out. It's like, but like you're in the groove now. It's like your office person doing their thing. It's hard because it's like growing from yourself. Like what big tips would you have for a small contractor going from just yourself to creating like a company?
You can't be scared to, spend money. You're going to get out what you put in.
Mhm.
I was worried about spending money early. One example was, okay, we had this old ratty tatty Econoline van. That was our first van, V8 rust bucket. That was number one out of the gate. And then I was like, okay, well, this is not a good image. It breaks down all the time. That costs us. So I looked into getting a new Transit, and I was nervous because we didn't have a whole lot of cash flow. But went ahead, pulled the trigger on it. And then 2-3 months in, I realized the fuel that the Transit was saving almost, covered the payment for it. And then example, little plug for you guys. I did 750,000 2 years in a row. So I think first year in business did 500,000, second year 650, third year 750, fourth year 750, and then that's when I said, I need help with marketing, advertising. I can't just do this on my own anymore. So then we went first year with you guys, $1 million. Year after that, 135. And then last year was just shy of 1.9.
Wow.
Yeah.
Nice. Very, very cool.
Yeah. So, don't be afraid to ask for help.
Right.
And there's a lot of free help, but there's also a lot of very good help that costs money that you're going to look at and think, that's a lot of money to spend. But then the money that returns,
Yep.
Don't just blindly spend money, track it, make sure you're getting your worth out of it.
Yep.
And then also don't be too proud to, like you had mentioned, at the end of the day, it's all on me. And if I decide to do some form of advertising, I think I just found the greatest, new hire. So I've made that decision. Don't be too proud to go, not working.
Yeah.
And you got to dump and move on. But I've seen other guys that not so humble. So it makes it harder for them to come to grips with, I might have made a mistake. You're going to make a lot of mistakes.
Yep.
But recognize them and stop spending money on mistakes.
Yeah. And what you said about the people that are not humble, my two biggest competitors near me, and I was like jealous of them for so long. I thought, how did they do this? But they were like within a mile, probably 2 miles of me, like two big, huge competitors. One of them had 50 trucks. One of them was just like all the suppliers just like love this guy. He's just flashing cash, spending money. It was, and then one of them went bankrupt, and then he like stiffed all the suppliers for hundreds of thousands of dollars. He's on the blacklist. Then this one with 50 trucks went bankrupt too. And like looking back at it, it was just ego, right? It was just these guys that were
Yeah.
they wanted to try to impress probably other contractors and
Yeah.
tell them how huge they were, and they both went under. So I think you're dead on about, you got to be humble, and you got to be able to change your decisions depending on kind of what you're seeing. Yeah.
Yeah. If I think today I've got the greatest new idea, and in 3 months, when it's not working out.
Yeah.
But a lot of people struggle to go, maybe it's if I give it more time. Yeah. If it's not working out,
especially with hires,
pull the plug. Yeah.
Yeah. It's a tough one.
Yeah.
When it comes to the evolution of your marketing and as to what you started with, what's worked and what hasn't worked, I think there's a lot of people who would be listening to this who would be interested to know what works and what hasn't worked. So kind of give us an idea what you started with, and then let us know what you tried that just didn't work and tried that did work.
Yeah, started with it. I had a little experience from the granite company before, so I thought I'd just bring what worked there over to this industry, and it kind of did work right out of the gate. Direct mailer, coupons, set up a website. Definitely need a website, need to be online, need that presence. But the direct mailer, little magazines and coupons, they really started dying off, because I'm guilty of myself. I get that envelope, I just throw it out. Yeah. I was on Google, I was doing pay-per-click. There was some other third-party lead generators that sell you the lead that I bit on that and tried out, and then had to find out that they give you some good ones up front, and the next thing you know, you're just paying for garbage.
Yeah, or they're sharing them or recycling them, and there's a lot
farming them on Craigslist.
Leads are much better if you're getting them for your own company and your own platforms, using your own logo and your own pricing and everything, because then they can only go to you.
So then first sales rep I hired, I kind of also put on him to handle social media advertising and presence. But if you don't really know what you're doing with that, it's not going to be successful. You can post things online, but when we kind of met you guys and signed up with you, the Facebook ads, still successful today, and the price per conversion is the lowest of any form of advertising that I do. Nice. And the closure rate on them is the highest.
Wow, that's really interesting.
Yeah,
that's interesting. Higher than Google, you'd say?
Oh yeah.
Wow.
Google leads, when we get those, we're bidding against 3, 4, 5, 6 other people, because they just looked on the list on Google, and it's nothing to call the first 6.
Interesting. So they're shopping at multiple, whereas Facebook, they happen to see the ad.
Facebook, we might be the only one.
Interesting. That's a really interesting fact. That's really fascinating. I haven't heard it from that perspective before, because we get other contractors, we had this in St. Louis. We sent 2 contractors, like we started them within a month of each other. They both got about 30 leads. One guy loves us, still a customer, high fives all around. The other guy sold 0 of 30 and thinks we're horrible. So it's it's hard from our perspective to know exactly what's happening in the field, but
there is, you get a whole lot of people apparently laying in bed at 2:15 in the morning that click on, and then they amount to nothing. But the price you're paying for that is so low, it's justifiable past any other form of advertising I've done.
And it's also you're not really paying for the lead, you're just paying for the impressions and the exposure. It's unlike Google paying per lead. It's a different.
Do you find that in your market anyway, that there are less of your competitors on Facebook and Instagram or social media advertising than Google?
That's funny you asked that. When I did start with you guys, I had a lot of haters that said, Facebook, and why are you on that? And that's not going to work. And nobody looks at Facebook. And I was the only one in the area HVAC company advertising on Facebook. Now, 30 different companies that I see advertising on Facebook. So yeah, it's definitely caught up.
The good thing is
Sure, go ahead.
if they're kind of like trying it and playing with it, there's so many ways to fail.
Yeah.
that all of your competitors, like they'll probably get frustrated and they'll probably, you know, unless they're organized and systemized, they're probably going to fall. You know, you actually, I'd say almost more so than any of the customer, maybe you and one other customer, you send us most of the ideas that we run for your company. You're like, no, let's do this and this, which I think makes it work better because you have an instinct about what, you know, you're coming up with your own ideas and we're like, great, let's give you some artwork. How do you like this? You're like, yep, shape it. You know, you're helping shape how this runs. And I think that makes it work better, in my opinion. I wish
I've also had some fails. I thought that Bernie Sanders ad was I really thought I was just a genius with that one, but
the interesting thing about
didn't really produce a whole lot, but I still think it was super cool.
The interesting thing about those Bernie Sanders ads that we did, that they got a lot of engagement, a lot of people commenting, a lot of people liking, but they got practically no leads.
I know. I had then somebody too that had a pretty negative comment about you know, I'll never use your company because this guy, you know, with politics right now in our country.
It wasn't supposed to be politics. It was just supposed to be
it was
funny
just
and get engagement.
Bernie with his winter coat and mittens sitting on a couch.
Yeah.
Things didn't work.
What they will restrict, or they will basically delete ads and not allow them to run if they feel as though anything's political. So we had an ad ban the other day because the guy put an American flag in the ad, and
Wow,
they did it as a political ad. He put a U.S. flag. We live in the U.S. It's like,
yeah,
it's absolutely bizarre. So.
Yeah, I've seen that. So have you found that some of your competitors are copying your ads and your ideas too?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I've seen, probably our most successful ad has been the scratch and dent. So suppliers will have their tent sales every year of everything they dinged up, dropped out of trucks, hit with forklift. I'll go buy up a bunch of that at a discounted rate and then do a scratch and dent sale. And that's our number one closure rate too, because that is not, oh, hey, I'm bidding out furnace and air and I'm going to call these 4 guys. It's, oh, wait a second, I could use a new AC and I might get a pretty sweet deal because they have a dented one and I don't care about a dent. So then when we show up and say, yeah, we have one that works for your house, and we'll get this question a lot, well, will you hold it for me? But I think no, first one to buy it buys it.
I love it. Natural pressure, because there's only one dented one.
Yeah.
You can't believe it. Interesting. That's
Fear of missing out.
Yeah.
Right on.
So that's been a very, very good ad.
I like it.
And yes, it has been copied.
No. In terms of what you do to manage your business, and I'm talking about apps or even spreadsheets or that type of thing, is there something that or CRM, is there something that you use that you would recommend to others using?
House Call Pro.
Okay.
It's been phenomenal. QuickBooks Online, I can be anywhere and manage my business. So a House Call Pro, I can see our schedule. I can see who's going where, who's been where, notes on it. Everything is logged, all the information we need. We can put notes in a digital file. That's where all the pictures go. That was another one that was like, do I really need to spend this money? But I absolutely very glad I did.
It's also really clean from the customer perspective. I've heard nothing but good about House Call, and then I've also hired companies that have used House Call, and it's really nice and clean of a consumer facing end of it too.
Yeah, and that's one thing too. Like, I'm pretty cheap, so up front looking at the cost of it, which now hindsight is nothing for what it does. But anytime I'm going to take on another expense, I really want to kind of look in it, and I get a little uneasy feeling because, if I'm going to spend money, I want to make sure it's right for what I need. And then if it's not, get rid of it as soon as possible.
Mm-hmm.
Are you getting your leads to be are automated, going right into House Call Pro right away?
No.
Okay. That is possible, by the way.
We can fix that if you want. Like it's going to be raw leads. Like everything will drop in there, but we can run it through this third party thing called Zapier. and every single contact could flow directly in there, but you'll have a big mess. You'll have to do some cleaning, but it'll save you from having to retype it, but that's a side note.
I like them coming to us, so I get the notification, my sales rep gets the notification, and then emails come in too. So speed of contact, I think, is very important, especially on the Facebook
Absolutely.
leads, because when somebody is scrolling through and they see it and they felt the need to click on it and get more information, the faster you can contact them, the better chance you have of actually getting in the house.
We've seen the same thing with every single one of our clients as well. You have to be like within the first 30 seconds. If you can get that contact over to them, that makes a huge difference.
Sorry, I got some text.
It's okay. You got to manage your business at the same time. Don't worry.
Yeah. The ones that, if by chance, my sales rep, let's say he's working, he's on a call, and then he gets out of there and then replies to somebody, an hour makes a big difference. If it can be minutes or seconds, success goes way up.
Yep. Yeah. Go ahead, Steve.
No,
I was just going to go ahead.
No, you go.
No, you go. You probably. I was
just going to ask. So if there's let's say there's some kid in I don't know, Medford, Oregon, and he's thinking, you know what, I really have this dream. I want an HVAC company, and I want to, I'd love to have a shop and basically get to where you're at. What is your key tips for either him personally or let's say he's got the licenses or whatever else? It's not the training part of it, but more like the business aspects of it.
Business aspects of it?
Yeah, what would you tell this kid? What should he start doing? What should he worry about? What should he, not spend his time on? All that kind of good stuff. Where should he start, basically?
You have to obviously procure customers somehow. So you can hire people. You can run ads. You can run free ads to hire people. So that doesn't cost you any money. But once you hire them, it costs you money. Lead production is probably the number one thing that has been if you can't produce customers, you have the greatest service techs and installers on earth, it's not going to do you any good. And I've tried all different avenues of advertising, but watch how much you're spending and what it's producing. And put more money into the ones that are giving you leads for the smallest amount of dollars.
Yep.
Because you have to get exposure. And when you're brand new out of the gate and you have 0 Google reviews and you've been in business for 0 years, it's hard, to get the phone to ring, and you don't have all that money. So legwork. Don't be afraid to get out there. I myself would walk down the streets with a backpack and door hangers. Don't worry about what other people think or say, because you're going to have haters. But focus on your business. Don't worry about outside influence that's trying to, you have a lot of people that will be naysayers.
What's an example of a hater that has come up for you that's trying to drag you down? What's an example?
Oh, when I started and I'm advertising around town, there's companies 30 years old, 50 years old. You'll never make it, blah, blah, blah. The only thing they do is offer a low price. But I've always felt to take care of the customer. The rest will kind of take care of itself. Do what you say you're going to do when you say you're going to do it. And it sounds very simple, but there's a whole lot of contractors, competitors that don't do that.
Yep.
And as a consumer, everybody's a consumer. So how would you like it if somebody told you they're going to be at your house on this day and this is what they're going to take care of for you? And then that day there's no call, no show. You got to call them to see where you at, what's going on. They got some dumb excuses for you. That's so important. To you tell somebody, I'm gonna be at your house Tuesday morning, you're at their house Tuesday morning. You say, I'm gonna be there Wednesday for your sales call at 4:30 p.m. You're there at 4:25.
Yeah, no, I think you're dead on, and you're right. It seems very simple, and it's shocking how many tradespeople don't do that.
Yeah.
And they show up late, they give bad excuses, and I even think that customers intuitively can tell if basically you have integrity, right? And like they can basically hear you for a little bit and go, do I trust this person with $10,000 of my money? Do I think they're going to destroy my house? Do I think they're going to try to, shaft me in some sort of way? And like, that's really the question you're answering on the sales calls, or, when any customer interaction. So a huge part of those is showing up and doing.
And like you said, integrity, that's been a big thing for me. The old saying, it's business, it's not personal. I can understand the origin of that saying, but it's my business and I take it very personal. Everybody here that works here, I care about. Customers care about. And at the end of the day, I want to be able to look at myself in the mirror and sleep at night. And I just don't think I'd be okay with myself if I was a shrewd, backstabbing, person going around saying, but don't take it personal. It's just business.
Yep. And they won't last, right?
And that too, like you said, haters, I've had people tell me it makes me a bad business person, but that's their opinion.
Yep.
And then you get corporations, the cable companies, they can get away with saying, I'll be there between 12 and 3, right?
Yeah.
They can get away with that.
Until 5.
But just think about being a consumer, that how many times you've had them say, I'll be there between 12 and 3. You're like, I got to be around here for 3 hours waiting for you. It's like, how do you stay in business that way? Whereas you say that you're going to be there at 4:30, you're there at 4:25. I mean, that says a lot to me.
Yep.
And I've had the same thing with guys that have come just to paint trim on my house, said they're going to be here at 7:30. They were here at 20 after 7. It's like, that looks really good to me.
We hear it a lot from people. And to me, it's kind of sad that people feel the need to say it, but thank you so much for being on time.
Yeah.
Well, we're supposed to be on time.
Right.
Yeah.
Now people thank us for being on time.
But they've got used to it now. That isn't the norm.
Yeah.
In some ways, it's like if you've been in quotes where they've had like 5 quotes, in some ways, it's like not a super high bar to impress people. Show up on time, like be professional, be nice, have a presentation, write up a quote on this. It's like, it's not that high of a bar to just beat all the other ones. They showed up smelling like cigarettes, and they showed up late, and they scribbled something with a Jiffy marker on a brochure. And like, this is who we're competing against sometimes. So it's not, even if you're higher price, you can still beat them because they don't want to deal.
Yeah, that matters too. Image, definitely. But I've always thought, like, who would I be comfortable with? Somebody coming in my house, somebody that smells and has a tank top on and was a half hour late and wrote down a price on a napkin, or just told me a price, versus somebody with a clean proposal that, you can tell they're taking it serious, and it means something to them, their appearance coming in your home.
Yep.
So why would I not do what I would also want somebody coming to my house and do?
No, I love it. Well, Dean, did you want to kind of say, if a consumer's watching this, say how they can get a hold of you, or if a potential person that is maybe in the industry in the Detroit area is looking for employment, maybe just say how they can reach you? Or
well, best all of our information on our website, affordablecomfortmi.com. So when we set up the website, Affordable Comfort was already taken, so we went with the Michigan abbreviation MI. So affordablecomfortmi.com, or address, phone number, all contact information's on there. That's the easiest way to get a hold of us.
Let's see.
We'll put that in the description on YouTube here. It'd be underneath the video here if somebody wants to get a hold of you from that. And so if somebody's listening to this and they're in the greater Detroit area, and maybe they're not in the HVAC industry, but need to get a new furnace or new air conditioner, anything you want to tell them?
Anything I want to tell them, yeah, go to affordablecomfort.com, give us a call, and
affordablecomfortmi.com.
affordablecomfortmi.com, and go ahead right out of the gate and choose the best company in the Metro Detroit area. which is us.
Yeah.
Obviously, I have to believe that.
Of course.
And not just believe, but we work very hard. Everybody here knows the most important aspect to our business success is our customers. We can do everything we want as good as possible, but if we're not treating our customers well and we're not respecting them and we don't appreciate their business, it's not going to work out well.
So I love that. I actually think that little snippet should like be in your website. It's like, because I think people ultimately buy if they can get to know you a little bit. They go, you know what, that person seems like a good person. I think, I'd like to buy something from them. So that's a good little snippet.
Yeah, don't take customers for granted.
Yep.
They are the ones working hard for their money and choosing to spend it on you. You should be flattered by that.
Yeah.
I think that's a great way to end this podcast right there with that, what you just said.
Okay, good.
AffordableComfort.com. This side note, we can chop this out. But
MI.com. Don't forget that.
MI, Affordable Comfort.
I forgot it once.
no, I looked it up. The one without the MI. It looks like somebody's selling it. Like I had CanadaFurnace.ca.
150,000 is what they want.
Well, here's the thing. Sometimes these people are desperate and they're sitting in their mom's basement and they're just holding a bunch of domains that they don't really want.
Mhm.
So it's like somebody stole my .com, or we had it registered at Laps and somebody stole the CanadaFurnace.com. I only had the .ca. And then I totally played it wrong and we overbid for it. I bet you I could have got it for in the hundreds.
Yeah.
It could be worth it. Like if you go to the website, it literally lists if you're interested in it, but you could just like shoot something to them. They'll say, give us $10,000. And you'd be like, look,
I'll give you 100.
I'll give you $100, right? You have 2 weeks and they might go, well, how about 1,000? And then, you never know.
About 150.
Exactly. You probably want to hide your identity though, because it makes it much more valuable to you compared to other people. So.
Oh yeah. They said, wait a second.
I try to be incognito, like I try to do it secretly. And like, I don't know, the guy must have looked at my IP address or found something. And he goes, I was calling myself Bob or something. He goes, oh, hey, Steve. Like he actually said my name going back and forth. So he basically figured out who I was.
I had a domain that I had purchased for another reason, and a company emailed me saying, hey, we'd like to buy this since we know that you own it. How much are you willing to sell it for? Right. And it's like, I wasn't even using it. I didn't want it. I could have probably really jacked up the price on it. And I said, hey, here's a fair price. And they were like, great. And it was I wouldn't say a pharmaceutical company, but they did a lot with creams and stuff for women. It was a big business. I didn't realize it. And sold it to him. And then all of a sudden they sent this big shipment of stuff for my wife. Like, hey, here you go.
Oh,
I thought that was really cool. Right.
Yeah.
So.
Hey, Dean, thank you very much for doing this. This is really appreciated. And it's great. I learned more about you on this call and this is good.
Yeah. Fantastic.
Happy to. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Dean. So, hey, everyone, that was a great podcast with Dean Bacheller of Affordable Comfort Heating and Cooling. He had a lot of great stuff that he went over about how he started a business, how he grew his business, how he marketed his business, how he hires people, how he manages people, how he manages all his leads. But also, we've helped him a lot with his marketing. And if you're looking to get help with your marketing, whether it's an HVAC, HVAC business, roofing business, turf, even pools, you can head over to resultsgrow.com. Or if you're in the HVAC side, you can head over to hvacgrow.com. Or even if you're in the roofing side, go to roofergrow.com. Any of those three, head over there, fill out the form. We'll set up a call with you to go over what we do, how we can help you, like a full demo online. Do that all. That's all free. There's never any obligation. So head over to that. Steve, anything else you wanted to add there?
No, I think the Dean podcast was great because it just he's also, and I think it's a good example of how to work best with a marketing company, right? So he actually he said on the podcast, every single day he's thinking a little bit about his own marketing, what he wants to run next, and he just give us some ideas. Like if you don't have ideas, no problem. We're going to run with everything that we know will work in your area. But he gives us a lot of feedback, and it lets us create his vision for it. So I think that's the best way to run it. And he's had good success with it, and this is what we like to see with our partners that we run their marketing for. So reach out to us today. Go to the website resultsgrow.com and just click on it. And we hope to chat with you soon.
Yeah, or hvacgrow.com or roofergrow.com. And thanks everyone for listening, and tune in next time for our next podcast.
Thanks, everybody.
See ya.